Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. So, given that tomorrow is Christmas Eve, I figure we'll talk about marketing propaganda. So, most of these kind of holidays that are happening are not the actual holidays. These are just kind of commercialized versions of the holidays, right? So even like if we talk about Boxing Day, right? Everybody's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go shopping on Boxing Day. You have herds and crowds of people waiting in line thinking they're getting like a great deal. The reality is you're not getting a deal because retail stores will just increase the price and then put like, oh, 25% off. So it ends up being the same price. You're not really getting much of a deal, right? And then like Christmas, if you actually do some like studying about Christmas, you'll realize that first of all, it's a pagan holiday. It's really the celebration of the winter solstice. And then again, this is why it ties into like marketing and propaganda, right? So like the version of Santa Claus that everybody knows, like this big fat white guy with a big beard who's wearing like red and white, like that's not a real thing, right? And who created that? Coca-Cola. And like this is the thing. So Coca-Cola realized like their drinks are not that popular in the winter when it's cold outside, right? And they literally manufactured this image or like character of Santa Claus, which is like an amalgamation of Kris Kringle, Saint Nick, and like one other person. And like in none of these like on their own looks like or has any of the same mannerisms or like characteristics of Santa Claus, right? Which is why you'll see during wintertime Coca-Cola literally has the Santa Claus on their cans, right? And then it goes even beyond this. Like if you watch any kind of Christmas movies, you'll see Coca-Cola is in those movies, right? So this is a form of marketing. That's product placement. Companies pay to have their products in movies or TV shows, and it's a way to get consumers to buy their products without them realizing they're being sold to or marketed to, right? And like once you're aware of marketing and all of like the psychology behind marketing, same thing with sales, you become very aware and like you're very good at kind of like noticing this stuff and then picking it up and then like realizing, oh wait, this is propaganda. Like I'm being brainwashed right now, or I'm being manipulated right now. I'm being sold something I don't need, right? So Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter, like literally all of these holidays are manufactured to get people to spend their money to buy things they don't need and just to like yeah, it's literally just consumerism, right? Like it's brainless consumerism. People are just buying garbage they don't need. Their homes are full of like clothing and like all kinds of different things they barely use or like really don't need, but like they saw it and were like, oh, this is cool, let me buy this, you know? So yeah, if you don't understand marketing, you probably won't ever realize like what's propaganda and what's not and when you're being sold, right? And I guess this even ties into like the whole notion of critical thinking and philosophy. So if you're able to think critically when you see product placement or you see marketing, you see an ad or like somebody's running their sales script on you, like you can catch on to like, oh, wait a minute, this is what's actually going on, right? It's not the reality. And yeah, I guess like we could tie this into this one story that Stefan used to say. I forgot what like event he was hosting, but he was telling this story. Essentially, there is like this newlywed couple, and the wife is like helping her mother-in-law prepare a turkey, and she sees the turkeys in a bin or like a dish, I guess, not a bin, and the lady chops the two ends off. So now the wife is asking the mother-in-law, well, why did you chop off the two ends of the turkey? And she's like, well, I don't know. This is just how we've always done it. And like, this is how I was taught. So he was like, okay, but like, there must be a reason, right? And then she's like, there must be, but I don't know. So they call the mother-in-law's mom. And then they ask her, well, like, do you know why we do this? Like, why do we chop the ends off of the turkey? And her mom is like, well, I don't know. This is just how we've always done it. And then she says the same thing. She's like, okay, well, like, we're trying to figure out, like, what's the reason behind this? You know, like, there must be some reason. And she's like, yeah, you're right. There must be. So then they call her mom. And then they tell her the same thing, like, hey, do you know why we chop off the ends of the turkey? And she's like, yeah, it's a very simple reason. Like, my tray or dish wasn't big enough. to fit the whole turkey. So we have to chop off the ends of the turkey. And that is the greatest metaphor of life because people are literally chopping the ends off this turkey without knowing what they're doing or why they're doing it, right? So for all of these generations, they're doing this like act or like, yeah, an act you could say, and they don't even know why they're doing it, right? So they're cutting off, like they're chopping off the ends of this turkey even though maybe in their dish they could put the whole turkey, not realizing that the only reason this became like a tradition was because the original person's dish wasn't big enough to have the whole turkey, right? So this is the reality of most of these kind of westernized, commercialized holidays. It's like fake traditions that have been created and passed on to people and like people don't question anything, right? Really like the world we live in, everyone is dependent on the government, everyone's dependent on the news, and like they're yeah, like literally nobody knows how to think for themselves, right? So and all of the information is readily available. Google exists, YouTube exists, ChatGPT, all of these things exist, right? So like you and books, literally books exist. So there's no excuse for people to be ignorant other than like they just choose to be ignorant, right? Like you can go and study and learn about anything you want. Like you don't need to go pay and get like a degree. Anything you want to learn, you can literally learn, right? So people just don't question shit. They're so used to like depending on these other people to give them the answers that 80% of the time they don't even realize the answers they're being given are wrong or they're being used to like manipulate somebody to do something or act in a certain way. And in most cases, it's to like waste their money on things they don't need, right? And again, it's all by design because the government doesn't want you to think critically. The government doesn't want you to be free, like in terms of your finances. And it's, yeah, it's all a game, right? Like the system is designed to keep people down. The system is designed to keep people trapped because the system feeds off of you, right? So if you remove one piece of the puzzle, literally the whole system collapses. And this is literally what's going on in our economy. This is why everyone, like people are freaking out right now because they're like, oh, like food prices are going up. And it's like, first of all, this is called inflation. So like you need to understand the cost of things isn't going up. It's that your dollar is becoming worth less. So your purchasing power is what's decreasing. It's not that the price of things are going up, right? It just seems like that because that's the story and the narrative that the media tells you, right? They don't tell you that when they printed millions and billions and trillions of dollars and gave it away as stimulus money, they inflated the economy. So every single person's dollar, everything that you had in savings became worth a lot less, right? And then same thing what they did with real estate. Like the government is not in the business of housing. They don't know how to build housing effectively. Like most government like workers, first of all, like this is another thing people are like now seeing in the news that like government is cutting jobs and like that's a good thing because most government jobs shouldn't exist. Most people who work in government aren't qualified for the positions they're in. And like the stupidity of this is that like if they don't spend whatever money they have in their budget gets cut. So literally they just mismanage funds and then what's the next step? Oh, let's increase taxes, right? And then who gets stuck paying the most tax? Highly skilled, highly specialized, highly educated people. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, right? And so like this whole notion of like, oh, let's tax the rich, like you're literally taxing the people who are moving society forward and like keeping them stuck, right? And all those benefits go to people who are collecting welfare, etc., and like making them more dependent on the system, less motivated to go out and work or like generate a skill or like even create art or like find their own passion and like lead a life worth living, right? And then the thing is like the people who actually understand the way the system works don't end up paying as much tax, right? Because they own businesses and they own real estate. And these things are taxed least. And the key thing about business is if you, so let's say you're a doctor and you make 200K a year, you're paying tax on 200K. Now, if I'm an entrepreneur and my business generates 200K, I'm gonna first of all have all of my expenses. So my 200K became 50K, and now I'm paying tax on 50K, right? Because the government wants you to create jobs, create infrastructure, reinvest in your people, give them more skills, etc., and grow and like push society forward. That's how the game is. That's how the system works. So, for like, you can't save your way to being rich, financially free, or wealthy. It doesn't work, right? It's an income problem. It's not a saving problem. And this is another form of marketing propaganda, right? People have been brainwashed into thinking, yeah, save your money. Cash is king. Like, cash is not king for the most part, especially when you have so much inflation, right? Credit is king because what is credit? It's the bank's money. So the most simple way to kind of like understand this is if you lose your wallet and somebody takes your debit card and uses your debit card or your cash, that money is gone forever. If somebody takes your credit card and uses that, that money is not gone forever. That's the bank's money. So first of all, they have insurance, and then second of all, like they're gonna do everything in their power to get their money back. They're not gonna do everything in their power to get your money back, right? So yeah, you need to like and like everything I'm telling in this video or like talking about is not that crazy and it's not even that like far fetched. Like, and again, like I'm just a guy, like, and I know this, so you can go out and learn this yourself and don't take my word for it. Again, like I'm just a guy. Go do your own research, right? Look at both sides of the equation, look at both sides of the argument, and then come to your own conclusion of what's real and what's not real, what's the truth and what's a lie, right? Yeah, I guess this is all a philosophy in the sense of like you need critical thinking, and it doesn't matter what area or like realm you're in. Every single aspect of life comes down to being able to think critically, right? So yeah, I mean, now that it's like the holiday season and there's gonna be all these like random ass events, like even New Year's, right? Think about this. People are like, yeah, I'm gonna go celebrate New Year's. And it's like, is it even a new year? Like, technically, shouldn't the new year for each person be their birthday? Because now you're living a whole new year. You've survived 1 year. You're a year older. Like, this is what I mean, like the stupidity of people. And nobody even stops to question this, right? And like, even it goes beyond that, like time. Some dude literally invented time, or like what we consider time. Time is not a real thing. And like, that's why they have dog years and cat years versus human years. Like time is not a real thing. Time doesn't exist. This is just a way to control people, manipulate people. It's a form of propaganda to like get people to feel like there's some kind of urgency to get shit done or like because they have to like reach XYZ milestone by like certain age, right? And it's like none of this shit is real. None of this shit matters. Some dude literally decided like, yeah, this is the time. Like same thing with the calendar. Like all of these things, some dude literally just created, and like everybody subscribed to this notion or like subscribes to this belief without questioning it. And like, I guess we can even tie this into content, right? Because people aren't like coming to watch your content for the content. They don't care what you're talking about and like they don't care who you are, right? They're literally subscribing to your belief or your personality. So you could literally be talking about anything, and if somebody like vibes with your personality, they're gonna subscribe because they have the same beliefs as you, right? So they're subscribing to the same belief system. And really, I guess that's what religion is at the end of the day. It's a collective of people subscribing to like a set of beliefs, rules, or like thoughts, right? So, yeah. To be honest, I had no idea what I was going to talk about today. And like, I've been discussing a lot of these kind of topics with Mina over the last few days. Um, like, I mean, mostly about like Christmas and stuff. And then, like, a lot of times when we're discussing things, like, I'll kind of just go like way into the deep end and like keep exploring and like doing my own research and then kind of like breaking down the topics even further, right? So that's how we ended up at this topic for today. And I mean, in all honesty, like I guess it is kind of like out there or like heavy. Um, but I think it's right on the nose. Especially because like we were watching Elf today and like some other Christmas movies, just because like it's Christmas tomorrow, like Christmas Eve or whatever, right? And then like the whole notion of like a Christmas tree and like essentially like how this whole winter solstice would happen and people would like worship the sun because they thought that that's like a form of life, which is why they use the fern tree as the Christmas tree because in the winter these would still have all their leaves, right? So like in pagan culture, they saw that as, oh, this is like a very powerful kind of thing. This is alive, you know, this is what's going to give us life because it still has life in the winter when everything is like dying, dying, you know? Same thing with a wreath. That's like, it's supposed to keep away bad spirits or like evil spirits. And then somewhere along the line, like the Western world decided to like Christianize it or like add Christian values and themes to it to make it more like palatable for the society. And then like fast forward to where we are now, and it's literally just a commercial holiday. Like people are going out spending thousands, hundreds of dollars that they don't have on gifts, and like all this stuff is garbage. Like people don't need half this stuff. Like it's like a competition. Like, oh, I got this. What did you get? And like everybody is just like, it's literally just mindless, brainless consumerism. Like at its prime, you know, this is like peak stupidity and like peak consumerism. You know, to the point where even if you think about this, like in Japan, when they celebrate Christmas, they're like, okay, well, what do the Americans do? And Americans like KFC. So in Japan, for Christmas and New Year's, they celebrate with KFC, right? So this is the thing. Companies control the world. People are just too stupid to realize it. And they've they spend all their money and then they're worried about making more money to like go and buy more stupid shit that they don't need without realizing like they're all literally pawns in this game that's being played by all these massive companies. And at the end of the day, business is all about like, let me take money from your pocket and put it in my pocket. Like in simple terms, that's what it is, you know? And like, I guess that's a bad way to explain it because really you are business is about solving a problem. But the kind of businesses we have now that are like running the world or like just everywhere are not really solving problems. If anything, they're creating problems and then selling the solution to the problem, right? Which is fucked. But that's, I think, why the economy is the way it is and like why things are in such a bad state, you know? That and like people just don't even realize what's going on. Like, so in my honest opinion, like all of the predictions I made about the real estate bubble, all of the predictions I made about immigration, like every single prediction I've made since fucking 2019, 2020 has come true. Even the predictions and like patterns I had been noticing from like 2010 to 2013, everything played out exactly as I said it would, you know? So I guess we'll end it on this. Like the economy and times are going to get way worse before they get better, right? So 2026, or really let's say 2025 to 2030, it's going to be a bloodbath. So like the point of this is not to scare you. The point is for you to like kind of wake up and start questioning everything, learn how to think properly, learn how to research, learn what to research. And then for those of you who like understand what I'm saying, this is gonna be what we've been waiting for. Like I've literally been waiting for this since like 2013, since I was like old enough to actually like act on opportunities, right? So in the chaos, this is where there's going to be opportunities. In the collapse of the economy, this is where there's going to be opportunity. So if you're a sharp person, if you are a skilled person, if you are a creative person, like this is the time you've been waiting for. Like for our generation, shit is fucked. Like you can't afford a home, you can't afford like a car, you can't afford shit. And it's again, it's by design, right? They want you dependent on the government so they can control you and manipulate you. So yeah, point being, there's going to be tons of opportunities coming up in the next 5 years. So those of you who have been patiently waiting, those of you who didn't go out and buy a home in COVID that was over, like you overpaid by hundreds of thousands of dollars because interest rates were low because you don't understand finance. Like all these people are going to get wiped out. All these people are going to lose their homes. Go around your neighborhood and count how many for sale signs you see, right? And then go walk around another neighborhood, count how many businesses have closed, count how many vacant units you see for lease, right? Like all the signs are there. And as much as the government may want to try and keep all of this stuff afloat, like it's too late. Like this shit's too far gone, you know? And like I'm not hating on liberals, I'm not saying conservative is good. It's all the same garbage, right? Um, Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And even if these politicians are like, yeah, we're good people, like you're a politician. Like you can't be a good person. That's the whole game. Like your whole persona is like manipulating the population, buying votes, and like sure maybe they're not like physically paying people, but they're buying votes, right? And like making promises they're not gonna keep, or like yeah, I mean, but that's like a whole other thing. Like, and we're not gonna get into that right now. Point being, like, don't trust the government, don't trust the media, don't trust the news, uh, and don't get brainwashed, and like don't buy into all of this like garbage beliefs people are making you like subscribe to, you know? Think for yourself. That's the point. Zoo Crew, that's it for today. And see you tomorrow. Peace out.